welcome to the season finale.
Season finale.
It is the season finale. This is season 1. We're finishing up season 1 right now.
Okay.
This is the season finale.
Previously
of Group Chat
on
After
Group
Dark.
Chat After Dark.
Is Bombas really a sponsor?
It's not.
There you go. Now you're all caught up.
Yes.
It is December of 2020, and we are here keeping your group chat lit up while you're trying to sleep.
Yeah. Or you could just be like Todd and put us on Do Not Disturb constantly.
You can put it on Do Not Disturb, and then nobody will really like you at all. So
He just responds to messages like every 30 minutes or so.
yeah. Or sometimes not even that. And then sometimes he's asleep.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's whatever. It's not the reason that we own ToddSux.com, but it might be.
It works.
It works.
You can learn more about this podcast at ToddSux.com. Also, RedTheDonkeyProductions.com. There's some other ones that I don't remember.
DukeHouston.com. Group Chat Podcast. Group Chat After Dark Podcast.com.
Not to be confused with Group Chat, the podcast. They are trash, and we do not support them.
Yeah, they are not friends of the show. But anyway, Michael, here we are. 2020 is almost over.
I'm glad.
It has been a year like no other, in certainly, like we talked about last time, in our lifetimes, but I think in many lifetimes. I think there are a few times through my life that I have known I am living through history. And this year is one that I'm like, wow, this will be written about for hundreds of years to come. Like this year will be the most historic of my lifetime. And that's saying a lot considering some of the things we've lived through. But this is going to be on the books for a long time as, wow, I'm glad I didn't live back then.
Yeah. We lived through a toilet paper shortage. Clorox wipe shortage.
Yeah.
Everybody hasn't left their homes in many, many moons.
And probably the worst thing is scalping of next generation video game consoles. What the hell?
Dude, did I tell you I found a PS5 box for sale on Facebook for $50? Just the cardboard box?
I have seen on Reddit the boxes going for $500 and up. So you got a deal if you were finding one for $50.
The caption was, a funny trick to play on your relatives for Christmas. Ha ha ha.
It's terrible if you're ever considering giving somebody something that's sought after and hard to find.
If that thought gets through your mind, please abstain because you are an idiot.
I always joke every year that something has ruined Christmas. I think that actually would ruin someone's Christmas if they were so excited to see that, and then it's like, oh, just kidding, it's a stupid sweater. That would. So anyway, don't do that. But 2020 has been bad, I think, for everyone.
That is the 2020 of Christmas gifts.
It is the 2020 of Christmas gifts. But I think it's important to also look back on some of the good things that happened, because there were some good things. It was few and far between, and a lot of it for me was personal stuff, but it's good to at least, it's easy to beat up on 2020. It's not so easy to pick through the good things. I don't have many, but there were some good things. Like, number one, this podcast.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Usually we do stuff in person together, but we haven't been able to, so we had to figure something else out.
And the only reason we've done this podcast for as long as we have is because we can't leave to go do anything else. We've tried podcasts in the past, and they always get abandoned because we're too busy. And This one, hey, we only do one episode a month, but this is 7 months in a row that no. We missed June because of vacation.
Not vacation.
Because of vacation. If it hadn't been vacation, I could have made it work. But because we were on vacation, I didn't have the right card for my audio recorder. We missed that opportunity to record.
Yes, that was probably the last time any of us broke quarantine was that 6 months ago.
I wish. I break quarantine every day. But no. But anyway, so yeah, we got to do this podcast, and we have both discussed off mic that we really enjoy doing this podcast. So that was something good that came out of 2020.
Yes, yes. And we got to know our listeners very well. They've engaged with us a lot on social media.
They're clamoring for this episode right now.
They are. It's been a multi-day wait.
Yes. Yeah, we've had some delays for this episode, but yeah, so I feel like that's a pretty good thing. I've really enjoyed it. We always seem to manage to carve out some time and get it done, with that 1 month exception. But hey, I will say it's the most consistent podcast I've ever been a part of.
There you go. It's record breaking.
And we're going to be in season 2 next month, which
Yes.
there's going to be some surprises for season 2. So stay tuned for that. But anyway, moving on from, all 7 of you, you're going to be so excited for the new changes. But moving on from the podcast, the mediocre, just forget that because I can't say the word. The next thing for me personally, out of 2020 was I got to spend a lot of time with my family, which I think some people might look at that as a negative. But I have a very young daughter who, I got to be there for when she took her first steps, like when she started crawling, when she took her first steps, and and her first words, and like in the normal business, first. My wife and I would not have been there for those.
Right.
So that's really cool to me that I got to, we've gotten to spend a lot of time. We've gotten to bond with her a lot more than we probably would have had this been a normal year. Because she would just be in daycare and we would be at work, and we put her to bed and we take her back to daycare. So we got to spend a lot of time with her, which was really cool. And I also knocked my wife up again. So now we get to do that again. We get to wait for all the new milestones on the new baby. So
and not see any of them because it'll be back at work.
Yeah, we'll be back at work, and then I won't see any of the kids. I won't even know the second kid's name.
Number 2.
It's just number two. What's the other? Where's the other one? Don't we have 2 of these? But yeah, so for me personally, that was, I don't know how you feel about it, getting to spend so much time with your wife. Actually, you didn't get to spend as much time with your wife as some people.
No, that's true. Yeah, my father broke his leg, so I was caring for my father while he was on the convalescence of that injury. But no, I've learned a lot of cool things. Got introduced to grocery pickup, which is good. As you guys hear my phone go off with Snapchat there in the microphone.
It's your wife that's doing it too, because I'm getting these.
Yeah, she'll do that. No, grocery pickup is the tits. It's great. In the words of Sydney from I Love You Man, it's the tits.
We were big fans of Kroger as our preferred grocery store, and they had started doing that before all this, and we were already big fans of their click list pre-pandemic, so we're even more grateful for it now than we were before, because it's one of my least favorite activities, wandering through the grocery store.
Yes,
I can't stand it. So yeah, the curbside pickup, whew, I hope that sticks around post-COVID.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It's nice not to have to interact with anybody or worry about touching the pin pad. So that's good. Yeah, a lot of tried a lot of Chick-fil-A this year. That's been a highlight of my COVID experience. Is I have like 13,000 Chick-fil-A points now.
Oh, nice.
No, it's like 1,700, but it's a lot.
Still, that's a lot of points. That'll get you at least a number 1.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. If I get red or if I get gold status or whatever, then they like give you a lot of perks. So I'm excited.
Okay. Well, you're gonna have to keep us updated in season 2 on your Chick-fil-A, your tier of membership in the Chick-fil-A rewards program.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're gonna need an update every episode. See where you are and what perks you got that month.
Yeah. Yeah. We've experienced Xbox Game Pass and the garbage games that they decided to put on there.
Hey, there have been some good ones, just not necessarily good multiplayer games. I would argue. Yeah,
that's true.
I've had a lot of fun with a lot of the games on there, but not that I've played a lot with you guys.
Totally Reliable Delivery Service was fun.
That was ridiculous, but Todd hated it so much. He deleted it as soon as we stopped playing that night.
Yes, he did.
He wasn't. He did seem to be intrigued by Human Fall Flat, the clip of us going over the edge in the dumpster.
He has not. He has not undownloaded Red Dead Redemption 2, even though it is also garbage.
It is
play online.
Yeah, it is.
So,
it is really bad.
Was that in 2020? I don't remember. Did that
was
come
what
out in
in
2020? Or that came
Red
out in
Dead
2019?
Online?
Yeah,
No, it came out in 2018.
one of those years.
The game came out, and then a month later, online launched, but it was in beta. So
It's still in beta.
I knew you were going to say that. Oh, Michael.
What are you excited to get for your Christmas gifts this year? What's your most exciting thing you're looking forward to?
My most exciting thing that I'm looking forward to, and hopefully, if all necessary hints were dropped, you will be able to be seeing it in season 2 of Group Chat After Dark. I have requested a new chair.
Nice.
Because this chair is trash, and before working from home, I didn't sit in it that often, so I didn't know how bad it was. It is really bad. Like, I have a couch cushion that I put behind me because it's so deep. Like, you have to sit so far back in it that it kills my back. So I put this cushion in here so that I'm not sitting all the way back, and it like cuts off circulation to your legs. And it is a terrible chair that I stole from my previous work or my previous job. It's awful, and so I think that is probably the thing I'm looking forward to most, given that I also recently found out that I'll be working from home until at least May of 2021. So I'll be spending a lot more time here, and I'm hoping to do it in a nice, comfy. Actually, I think it's a gaming chair,
Nice.
but those are designed for lazy slobs who never get up. So I'm hoping that means it's going to be really comfortable. So,
I am sitting in a gaming chair currently, and it's not perfect.
Yeah.
Us tall people, it's not real good on the back. It's pretty short. Like, my head still goes over the edge. So
yeah.
it's
This
not
one,
great.
the one that I'm hoping, and we'll see. The one that I dropped a lot of hints for had a really tall. I think it was even on like a list of big and tall gaming chairs. I
Nice.
can't remember because I've looked at them for months and months, and I was like,
Does it have a cup holder?
It does not, but it has a footrest. It has a slide out footrest, so you can actually lay back. You can lay back like flat in it if you want. I guess some people sleep in them, but but it does have a slide out footrest so that you can put your feet up.
Todd said he likes to work from his zero gravity chair that he uses to sit in the yard with.
I did not remember him saying that, but you don't lie, so
I've never lied.
You've never lied.
Todd's activities.
We would not.
Well, I did want to mention, if anybody out there is still looking for Christmas gifts, Bombas is offering a holiday special as an official sponsor of this podcast. If you put in the promo code GCHAD next to the microphone on the top left, it will earn you approximately 0.0% off your purchase.
Wait a minute. You're telling me that all I got to do is go to bombas.com and click the microphone and type in GCHAD, GCHAD. I hit enter, and I get 0% off my order.
And you have to pay for shipping.
Wow.
It's great.
That seems like... Am I crazy, or does that seem like not a deal at all?
I think it's a deal.
Okay. I mean, again, you just said you never lie, so I'm going with it.
Well, as the #1 selling product in the history of Shark Tank, Bombas. It's a quality holiday gift. Everybody's asking for it. You need to keep your feet warm as you work from home.
I gotta say,
many people
your ad reads
are asking for this. Many
ad
people.
reads are getting just like last month was really good. I was really impressed with, put some stockings in your stockings. That whole thing was great. This, where you I knew it was coming eventually, but you kind of led me down that path with the Christmas gift, and then you went into that. And I got to say, quality holiday gift is probably I can't believe I haven't seen that somewhere else, but that that just rolls right off the tongue. So you better register that right now because people are going to take it.
Here's a deal.
Oh,
Can't miss
well.
Can't miss it. Bombas.com.
Bombas.com. They still
Promo
don't
code
sponsor the
G-Shock.
podcast, but if these ad reads keep getting better, I think that it's pretty much. I'm gonna have to start sending these out via Twitter and be like, "Look, Bombas, you are missing out. This is what we're doing for free. Can you imagine the level of ad read if we were actually getting some sponsorship money out of these things?" So
we might
now
even use the product.
we might even use it. Actually, I considered sending last month's ad read with a photo of my father's anniversary gift from my mother. He put it on Facebook. It was like 20 pairs of Bombas. And I was like, look, my dad doesn't know that you don't really sponsor us. Look how many pairs of Bombas he bought just because of the quality of these fake ad reads. But I didn't. So
He is a very big fan of the Bombas.
huge fan of Bombas. He was so excited he made a Facebook post about it that my mom got him a bunch of socks for Christmas or for their wedding anniversary. Their like 43rd wedding anniversary. That was what he got, was socks.
All 43 of those years happened in 2020.
Basically. But well, now that we've got our fake business out of the way, let's move on to the actual topic of this month's show. We've focused on the good things that came out of 2020, but like we say, it's easy to beat up on 2020. There have been a lot of bad things, but the worst, most egregious offense of 2020 is still to come, and it happens on the very last day of 2020. December 31st, 2020 is the last day that you can watch The Office on Netflix.
Yes, it is. All seasons are there currently in the United States. Apparently, it's staying on in other countries, but
of course,
in the U.S., it is going to the novel streaming service by NBC called Peacock, and it's going to have commercials.
Yeah. So I don't know when you discovered The Office, Michael, but for me, I discovered it because it was on Netflix.
See, I discovered it in 2005. It was still on TV.
Yeah. I knew it was on TV when I was like in college and stuff, but I hadn't seen the British version. So I was like, I don't know. It doesn't really seem like something for me. I had graduated from college and had moved back into my parents' house for about 6 months. And it was quite a time in my life, but the one thing that the shining light was one day when I had nothing to do other than sit in a recliner and watch TV, I turned on The Office and gave it a shot, and I watched every single episode. And I don't remember what season it was during that time. Looks like maybe season 6 was getting ready to happen. And just based on my notes here in the years, I got in, and I was in for the rest of it, even though it took a turn. But I became a diehard fan of The Office because it was on Netflix.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it's tragic that they're removing it.
It is tragic, but it's not.
They did pretty well, or Netflix did pretty well.
Oh yeah, Netflix did amazing. I mean, they like what I was about to move on to, so it was a good segue there, is the fact that NBC Universal, who, I mean, obviously they own The Office, however, they had licensed the streaming rights to Netflix because, this was before streaming was a thing. Netflix was the first one to really get on that. But so they had licensed the NBC Universal paid $500 million to get the streaming rights back to The Office. And
so what's that, $50 million an episode or a season? Holy cow.
Yeah. And this gives them exclusive streaming rights for 5 years.
Oh, that's it? Only 5 years?
Yeah. So $100 million a year to be able to stream their exclusively. And
the show that they produced and paid for.
Yeah. I mean, they footed the bill the first time. They spent a lot of money to get it back. But, I mean, obviously they're hoping this will bump up their viewership, because consistently in The Office or in the Netflix top watch shows, since it's been on there, The Office is almost always in like the top what's currently popular on Netflix. It's like one of their most streamed shows and has been for years and years.
Yes.
So NBC is hoping that by exclusively streaming it, their Peacock numbers are going to jump way up. And they're sweetening the pot with a few bonus, like there's some extra content that you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming it's probably going to be a lot of stuff that would be available on like the DVDs.
Yeah, it would have to be now, I guess.
But I think there's also some talk of, and this could be speculation on fans' part, but there's talk of, since NBC obviously owns all the additional footage and the alternate takes and the deleted, there might be some never before seen stuff. Could be, maybe we'll see. But they're going to do like behind the scenes type stuff, bloopers. There'll be some interviews, and something that is not on Netflix is like a themed playlists. So
Nice.
if you want to watch like Jim and Pam centric episodes, they'll have those picked out in a playlist, or like
All
pranks
the Christmas
and
episodes, yeah.
all the Christmas episodes, which is a great segue, Michael, because since it is December, the month of Christmas, and since it is leaving Netflix in December,
R.I.P.
RIP
On
Netflix,
Peacock.
because everybody's going to cancel their Netflix after this.
Well, did you see what else Netflix did on top of that, though?
I did not.
They raised the price by $1. It's going up $13.99.
All right, we're out. That's just too rich for my blood. But now that we're here and the office is leaving, we thought we'd send it off with a bang.
Travesty.
Talking about
in the world's
best.
the worst year in the history of the world.
So we're going to talk about our favorite Christmas episode of The Office, of which there are a few to choose from. However, I found it interesting that not every season has a Christmas episode.
Yes.
Do you know why?
I think it's because season 1 was like a pilot, so they didn't order enough episodes, right?
Season 1 definitely was, I think it's like 6 episodes, so not a whole lot there. But when I was assembling this list, I noticed season 4 does not have a Christmas episode.
I remember this now.
And I thought, there's every other season has a Christmas episode. Do you know what the season 4 finale of, or what the episode was, the season 4 finale?
I'm trying to think which one it was. I don't recall off the top of my head. I know it's weird because of some issues I think we're getting ready to talk about. So
I think, yeah, probably. The season 4 finale was Goodbye Toby, which is one of my favorite episodes.
Yes.
But obviously
that on Friday.
Yeah. So, but then they actually, they didn't have. I think I didn't research this meticulously, but I do remember there was a writer's strike during this time in the early 2000s, which a lot of stuff just kind of got pushed off. So I think that is the reason that there's no Christmas episode there.
Yeah.
And I'd have to verify that, but I remembered that in the research.
So Mike Schur, who plays Mose on The Office, is actually, he was like the second head writer behind Greg Daniels, who's the EP. So he didn't do any writing, but he was like a leader of that writer's strike back in the day. And so basically all of the Office writing staff picketed and wouldn't cross the line. So they ran out of episodes. Yeah, Parks and Rec, which is another Mike Schur show at the same time, had the same problem. So you'll notice a gap there as well in there.
There was, I remember that it was big. There was a lot of things that were affected by that there was just no new TV, which I kind of reminded me of. I thought the same thing would happen this year.
Yeah.
With like the fall TV shows and everything. I was like, well, they can't, you've been on sets before. You know how close you have to be to people and how, and that's just our small stuff.
Right.
You think about, you scale it up, the bigger, I actually just was listening to a podcast the other day. Mark Maron was talking about going back onto a set, and he's like, it's like a little city of work. Like everybody, there's just constant movement and everybody's doing their job, and there's just hundreds of people all with specific tasks, and it just travels around. And I was like, that's a pretty good, working on a lot of sets. I'm like, that's a brilliant way to put it. But you're in close proximity with a lot of people.
Yeah. And you think about like craft services, if one person is sick, everybody's getting sick.
Yeah. So they've figured out, a lot of shows have figured out ways to keep going. But I kind of thought we were in for the same.
Have you noticed
TV drought?
When you're watching TV now, like stuff that's been filmed recently, they have to put like a disclaimer, like this was filmed safely,
Yes,
so that people aren't like complaining.
yeah, commercials and things. I've said this, or some of this was recorded before uh, the pandemic. So because a lot of times things do, you'll shoot something and you'll sit on it for a year,
Yeah.
or you're waiting to get distribution. And I think a lot of stuff probably got picked up this year because there wasn't new things coming out. So things that were kind of in limbo, waiting to be picked up by a
Like, oh, this
distributor.
is shitty, but we'll air it
Yeah,
this year.
yeah. I've seen some like movie trailers and things. I was like, that probably would not have made it to a theatrical run any other year. But so anyway, now that we've done a lot of groundwork here, there are a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the 9 seasons that the Office ran for. There are 7 Christmas episodes.
Yes. And so, speaking of the hierarchy of the Office episodes, the Christmas episode was usually the last one before they went on winter hiatus, which is when TV shows don't air new stuff because nobody's watching during Christmas, New Year's / the Olympics, because this was on NBC. So they would cut out for the Olympics as well. But yeah, so each season, this was kind of your big top of the hill before you came back down the other side. So a lot of cool stuff happened during these episodes, and I think we have a couple of favorites.
Yes, we do. And it's interesting you point that out about the hiatus, because it ultimately, a lot of shows now call it the mid-season finale.
Oh,
When they do you'll have 2 finales. The Walking Dead, I remember, was the first show that I ever heard that term. Was that they would always take a break, usually after Thanksgiving. There'd be a big episode where a lot of things happened, and then they wouldn't come back till maybe late January or early February.
mm-hmm.
And it started building up that way to, there are now mid-season finales, because of course the new TV starts in the fall, usually ends in the spring. So it's interesting that you point that out, because it's definitely something that is now billed as a season will have 2 finales.
It's
And I
funny
guess
how
it'll probably,
we talked about Netflix, and how that's kind of ruined the whole cadence of all that stuff that used to be a thing.
mm-hmm.
Like I remember, I guess it was season 2 on the casino night episode. Like Jim and Pam were kissing each other, and then you didn't know what would happen after that, and you had to wait a whole like 3-4 months. So yeah, but now it's just like on to the next one.
Drop a whole season at once, and so it is weird when you watch shows that weren't built that way. Like if you're binging The Office one right after the other, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, a lot of things just happened. And then it's like, oh, well, so and then if like you look in the next episode, it's like, oh, season 3, episode 1. You're like, oh, it was his season finale. But now you don't have that month. Like we talked about recently, Who Shot Mr. Burns? I was so pissed off as a kid because my sister and I watched The Simpsons one night. Mr. Burns gets shot, and I was like, oh man, I can't wait to find out who shot him next week. And my sister's like, oh no, that's not how this works. I was like, what? She goes, we're gonna have to wait until the fall. I was like, and I was livid because I didn't understand TV seasons. I don't remember how old I was when that episode aired, but it blew my mind that I wasn't going to find out next week. We were going to watch The Simpsons at the same time next week, but it was going to be one we'd already seen.
So since you discovered The Office on Netflix, do you remember what they used to do when they would put a new season out on DVD? So while they were airing the seasons on TV, you would get the previous season would drop on Netflix one day before the season premiere of the next year. So like you had to race to pick it up if you hadn't caught all the episodes.
Yeah, they actually still do that with like Simon and I like to watch Shameless, which is a Showtime show, and they will the last season won't hit Netflix until about a week before the new season starts. So if you race through and watch all of the Shameless episodes right when it hits, then you got basically another year to wait before the current season will hit Netflix. So we always try to space those out a little bit. But yeah, it's interesting. And we've digressed a little bit about TV show structures and everything, but let's jump into our Christmas episodes. Again, there's 7 episodes. They're not all winners.
No,
but
they're not. There's several terrible ones.
we're going to put each other on the spot and force the other one to pick a favorite, and then we're going to argue and tell the other one why they're wrong.
I like it because you are
All
always
right.
wrong.
You are always wrong, and you are sus. Michael, what is your favorite episode of the Christmas episode of The Office? Right now, don't even think about it. Just say it. Go.
Benihana Christmas, season 3.
That episode is trash
Why is it trash? It
because it
has
is
an alternate setting. It has Dwight humor, and it has racist stereotypes.
exactly racist stereotypes. It should be canceled because that is the worst Christmas episode ever. Okay, no.
No, if it's the worst, what is your favorite?
It is not the worst. Before I tell you my favorite, I will tell you my least favorite, and that is the season 8 episode "Christmas Wishes," where Andy is trying to make everyone's wishes come
those
true.
are the lost years. They threw those in the can.
That
Those
episode
don't count.
sucks.
I skip all of those years and then go to the last season.
It is funny because my wife had never seen The Office until she and I started dating, and so it was something I watched multiple times a year. It was my like go to bed show. I'd turn it on and watch an episode of The Office every night. So I've seen it I don't know how many times through, but I would always stop when Michael left.
Yep.
When Michael Scott left his last episode, to me that was the series finale, and I would start over.
Yeah.
So I had only ever seen seasons 8 and 9 all the way through once when they aired.
You were lucky.
When she started watching again and we got all the way through, I was mortified all over again because I was like, man, these got really bad. and I had forgotten a lot of the episodes and how bad they were. But that I will say of all 7 Christmas episodes, that one is the worst. Season 8, Christmas Wishes, just pure trash.
Season
so Benihana is the next trash.
No, it's not. It's not.
All right. Well, I will now.
Okay, what's better than Benihana Christmas? What's better?
Well, all other Christmas episodes other than Christmas Wishes are better, but the best episode, Michael, we've got a huge moment here.
I'm sorry, I'm an important person. People like to get a hold of me, okay?
Anyway, regardless of Michael's inflated ego, the best episode of The Office Christmas episodes is season 2 Christmas Party, the very first Christmas episode they ever did. It's the best.
It's funny that you mentioned that because there's a pretty good twist in there that if you were to take that episode and transplant it today, you could no longer get the star gift of that episode. It does not exist anymore.
That is true. Everybody does clamor for a video iPod, which is funny in itself because, of course, and that's what it was their first. It kind of set the tone, I think, for all the Christmas episodes, and that's why I think it's my favorite. Is because, in true Office fashion, nothing about this Christmas party goes right, and it just becomes an ugly, cringy affair where and I'm also, you know me, I'm also a fan of, I love Michael Scott anyway, but I really love cringy, not yet endeared to Michael Scott. I liked it when he was more like the Ricky Gervais character of David Brandt, where because they never really endeared you to him.
So you're a pre-hair plugs, Michael Scott.
pre Bosley hair restoration. I thought he did that very well. Now, don't get me wrong. Michael Scott is one of my favorite characters of any form of entertainment ever, all the way through. But I've often argued with people that I think Michael Scott ultimately killed The Office because at the beginning, you did not like him. You did not. He was too cringy. He was just too self-absorbed and so bad that it was painful to watch, but you couldn't look away.
Yeah.
And then they slowly start endearing you to him to where he becomes your favorite character. And then he leaves. And to me, I was like, well, there's no point now. I like but they're supporting characters to me. Michael Scott was the reason I watched this show. So again, that's why I would cut it off in my rewatches of, the show. But yeah, I think I've said that I think he killed it, but going back to the fact that this is the best Christmas episode ever is Christmas Party. Simple title. much better than Benihana Christmas because nobody even knows what Benihana is. Michael is so terrible in that episode because he way overspends the spending limit. It was like a $25 limit or something like that. He gets like a $300 video iPod and then is pissed that nobody else got anybody, none of the gifts. He turns it into what, Yankee swap. Nothing is as good. He's very happy that everybody wants the iPod, yet nothing he gets is good enough because he way overspent. And it's just classic.
So I think we need to run through the episode now. I think we need to talk about this. So, and I'm going off of memory here, so I might be wrong, but it starts out, I believe, Michael and Dwight are showing off the Christmas tree, or is that a different one?
I think so, but yeah, I haven't watched them. I should have watched them all in prep for the show, but our schedule got kind of mixed up, so I ran out of time.
Oh wait, I think I might have a recap here on this site that I'm reading the list of.
Yeah, I think that's, I can't remember if it was that or the goose.
Aha. Yes. So, okay, yeah. So there's some good jokes here. Kevin has a question in. Yes, so this is the one where Kevin, Dwight, and Michael storm in the office with the office Christmas tree for the year.
Yes.
And they're going to put it up. And they put it up, and it's too tall for the office, so it stabs through the drop ceiling and creates a hole. And Kevin is talking with Michael, and he says, "Why did you get it so big?" And Michael says the following.
That's what she said.
And then he says, "B, I wanted it to be impressive. The biggest day of the year deserves the biggest tree of the year." So then Kevin is then tasked with hacking the top off with a saw, which he does.
It was a paper cutter.
Oh.
Oh.
So he does, and then he asks Michael what they're going to do with this little part, and he says, "We'll just make it into a mini tree." And then Kevin has to hold it up like a fish for a picture.
Yes, I think Michael wants to donate it to charity because it's a small tree, and he wants to donate the hacked off, the chopped off part to charity because he's Michael.
Yeah,
so look good in front of the camera.
They're planning their annual Christmas party, and during the party, everyone's supposed to bring a gift, and then there's going to be a gift exchange, which pre this episode was determined to be a Secret Santa program.
Secret Santa, yeah.
And Michael gets a bonus from corporate for coming in under budget, which was a result of what action?
I was gonna say, I think that's because he fired Devin, right?
Yep.
So yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So he gets a bonus, and with that bonus, he decides to purchase his Secret Santa for his new man crush, Ryan the Temp. And he purchases the previously mentioned video iPod, which is no longer made and probably only held like 10 songs at the time.
Well, it can play videos. I mean, that was impressive. It was the precursor to the iPhone.
iPods. It also weighed like 14 pounds, and you couldn't fit it in your pocket. So there was that.
It would fit in your pocket. My wife actually, in this little file cabinet behind me here, is an original iPod.
Does it?
It's not the original. No, it has the wheel.
Okay.
So it's not the original because Corey had the original back in the day. You want to talk about a brick? This is a smaller, or one of the first generation iPods, and it's not the Nano like Michael's penis or a Shuffle, but not your penis, Michael Scott. I'm sorry, I'm confusing.
You don't
people.
know me.
They don't
You've
watch
just
The
seen
Office.
my penis.
Yeah, I just outed that you have a tiny nano penis.
It's average.
But anyway, that would fit in your pocket. And the video iPod was about that same size. So it would fit, but it wouldn't be comfortable because they were pretty thick.
So Michael gets Ryan the video iPod, which is significantly more than the other gifts that are given. So everyone's trying to steal the video iPod. And during the course of this, Jim and Pam had been having quite the unrequited love story going on. Pam's still engaged to Roy. and Jim has a mega crush on her and wants to confess his feelings and feels like the best time to do it is at Christmas party in a letter. So they got each other for Secret Santa, and Jim was all ready to give his gift to Pam, and then they instituted Nasty Christmas. And
well, they instituted Nasty Christmas because, if you remember, Michael's gift from Phyllis was a homemade oven mitt. And he is so upset that, and he even yells at one point that he's like, I got Ryan an iPod. And like, you went over the limit. And he's so mad that, because I think one of his quotes is even, when you get somebody a gift, it's like saying, I love you this many dollars worth.
Phyllis's gift says, I love you a homemade oven's mitt's worth.
Yeah, he's livid that he calls it, and everybody, I don't know, everybody has a different name for it. There's White Elephant and Nasty Christmas and Yankee Swap and everything, but Michael wants to do that where you steal gifts from each other, and that's what ends up happening. And remind me, Michael, who gets the teapot?
Unfortunately, Dwight gets the teapot. And
I wonder why he wanted it.
Well, Jim confronts him about it later to try to get it back, to give it to Pam, and also get his secret love letter out of it. And it turns out Dwight wants to keep it and use it for a neti pot to drain his sinuses in the shower.
Which that shot right there where because he's got like the elf ears and the hat on, yeah, and he's like shoving it in his nose, that always cracks me up.
Man. So eventually Pam does trade the video iPod to Dwight for the teapot, because Jim is pretty broken up about her not getting the teapot. And we find out an interesting piece of information about the teapot.
It has a dildo inside it.
Not a dildo, bonus gifts.
Oh, bonus gifts. That's right. Sorry. I watch a lot of Office-themed porn, and so that's what I was saying.
Sorry, penis is on the brain.
Yeah, penis is on the brain. In the Brazzers version of the Office Christmas party, it's full of dildos. Anyway. You're picturing a teapot full of dildos. Like he pulls the top off and it's just dildos.
Surprise.
They jump out like snakes.
It's like the can that you peel. Dildos fly out.
Oh, you know what? The whole thing about the porno version was made up, but now I kind of feel like somebody needs to do it. Anyway. Oh,
so,
that tickled me.
Yeah, so Pam finds out that Roy's going to get her a video iPod or something resembling a video iPod later on. So she trades it for the teapot, and then we find out bonus gifts are inside, where Jim then backs out of his confession, steals the letter.
Cold feet.
And we have to wait some more to find out, will they ever get together, which doesn't happen until the end of the season.
Spoiler alert, they don't.
They don't. And then they do.
And then Jim moves away and
becomes
you never
Philly
see him
Jim.
Again. Yeah, you never see him again. So, terrible show.
Yeah. So what is your favorite part about the first Christmas episode of The Office?
It's got to be like we were talking, just the fact that Michael ruins everything because, and like a spoiled child, at Christmas, like if they don't get the gift they want. And I don't think he even had anything in mind that he wanted. He just wanted an expensive gift. And so the fact that he did not get this expensive gift, he ruins the entire party and just makes everybody mad. It's just his childlike actions just blow everything apart. And that's, again, this is when you weren't supposed to like him, and it just did its job beautifully, and the resulting chaos.
Well, if you remember too, hilarious. Everybody got pissed off about Yankee Swap. So Michael tries to make it up to everyone, and he buys 12 handles of vodka to take back to the office.
Yes.
and they have a wild party after that. And Todd Packer shows up, and they've actually published the photos from the Christmas party that were on Michael's camera, so you can check those out online. And some stuff happens then too, like Kelly kisses Dwight.
Oof, it's a bad move.
Yes. So I have an interesting quote here from Jenna Fisher's MySpace blog.
Ooh.
That's a little dated. But it says that they shot the party part of the episode over 3 days, and they did not replace the bowl of eggnog, so it just sat out for 12 hours a day, and was terrible by the end. And they would just cover it up. And then the food got stale. Yeah, and apparently if you see a lot of people eating pretzels, it's because they just didn't change the food out in between takes. So
that is, eggnog is disgusting, and for me anyway, I can't stand eggnog. So to think about eggnog that sat out for 3 days is just
yeah. Egg and whole milk doesn't do it for me.
And 3 days, I mean, that was the whole, like, that's because they usually, they do an episode a week, so 3 out of the 5 work days they shot this up. They shot just the party part of it. So wow, it's pretty it's substantial.
Yeah, and apparently they had snow as well. It's all fake because they shot the show in California, not in Pennsylvania. But apparently the one that they use for the falling snow is different from the ones that's sitting on the car. The one that they use that's on the car and on the ground is cold to the touch, apparently. So it's interesting.
Yeah, they actually, if you do not listen to the Office Ladies podcast, they actually go into pretty good detail about how they made the fake snow. Because there's several episodes. Obviously, this thing takes place in Pennsylvania, which is prone to snowstorms. And they talk a lot about the different companies and things. So if you're very interested in how fake snow is made, check out the Office Ladies podcast, because they especially like these episodes that are very snow centric.
Yeah, that's a great podcast. They usually
go into that. It's quality podcast, especially if you really enjoy The Office.
So we've covered your favorite. I think it's time to talk about the real best Christmas episode in the history of The Office.
We already did that.
Haunted Christmas.
No, we already did that.
No, we didn't. So
we did.
This episode starts out in fantastic fashion with a Michael-centric thing. And you'll be interested to know, I was browsing the Reddit recently, and I learned something I didn't think about previously. So the episode starts out, and Michael is dating Carol, his realtor, and he's already proposed marriage to her after 9 dates. And she said no, but they're still together. She comes into the office. Michael thinks she's just early for the Christmas party and calls her a blonde. And they go into his office and have a conversation. Turns out that Michael sent her a Christmas card of his
Not
face.
just her. He sent this out to everybody that he sent a Christmas card to.
So it's his face plastered over her ex-husband's face with their 2 children. So this weirds Carol out, and they break up from there, and then the episode just goes off the rails. But the cool thing that I learned recently is that, well, I already knew this. So Carol in the office is Nancy Carell, Steve Carell's real-life wife. Well, so the picture that he puts his face over is most likely a picture of him already. And so he's just pasted over his face with his face.
It could be, because I think they even talk about that on the Office Ladies. I think they talk about it, and I want to say, I can't remember because it's been a while since those two. I want to say that they actually did like a photo shoot and like in front of a green screen with somebody else. Because they wanted it to very obviously not be. I think that's right, but they talk about that, how some of the photos that show up in the show, how they made them, and sometimes it's Photoshop and sometimes it's like they actually take the photos. And I want to say they did it like skis and greetings. I want to say they did it with like somebody taller or something, or somebody that would very obviously not actually be Michael. but I can't remember. They'll have to again visit the Office Ladies podcast. Maybe they'll sponsor us. No, you don't sponsor a podcast with another podcast. So stupid.
Unless you're Conrad Thompson, then you do.
He's trash. Anyway,
good luck with your photography. But after Michael breaks up with Carol, or Carol breaks up with Michael, he's in his office listening to Mullins on the iTunes. However, for some reason he doesn't purchase the entire song. He's just listening to the preview snippet that you get.
He doesn't need the whole thing.
Yeah, just a taste.
Just a taste.
So Dwight's helping him rid his office of all mementos of Carol, and they find out that Carol actually saved him money on his townhome or his condo purchase. And then things are, Michael tries to cancel Christmas. He comes out and yells, "Christmas is canceled." Stanley says, "You can't cancel Christmas." And then he said, "Fine, you can have Christmas, but nobody can have any guests." And nobody likes that. So that doesn't fly over well. And so Michael continues to pout in his office. And Andy comes in and decides it's time to cheer him up, take him out to lunch. And so they decide to go to what Michael describes as Asian Hooters, which is Benihana. Ben, would you like to describe for the audience have a Benihana nearby what Benihana is?
I do not have a Benihana nearby. I've never been to one. I have Kabuki, which is pretty much the same thing.
Yes,
but yeah,
it's a hibachi grill with the chef stands there and makes your food in front of you, and then he does tricks and stuff like the flame volcano with the onions and the tossing the shrimp in your mouth. And so,
which another interesting fact from Office Ladies. I'm going to ruin every Office Ladies episode if you haven't listened to it, but
spoiler alert:
they
Howard
could
Wallace
not get
goes to space.
They could not get the volcano to work the day they were shooting it. So what you see in the episode is actually artificial flame. It's added in post. They could not get. They spent I don't remember how long with the actual chef trying to get the onion volcano to work, and it was not working visually to really sell it. So they had to add it in post. So which is a camera nerd I find interesting. But anyway.
It is. I did not know that. That's very interesting. I heard the noise and I figured they were doing it, but I guess they did a good job editing. Mm-hmm. So Michael picks his band of brothers to go to Benihana with him. He takes Andy, Jim, and Dwight. So they get to the restaurant, and if you've never been to hibachi, you all everybody sits in a table around the chef. And Dwight is going to sit down next to everybody, and these two people on a date swoop in and take up two chairs, and then there's no other space. So Dwight has to sit far back from the rest of his group, and a lot of funny stuff happens then.
Everybody's always like, why won't those people just move so you could sit with this group? I'm like, because it's a comedy. If they had moved, then it wouldn't be nearly as funny. It would be like, hey, I could swap seats with you. Oh, thanks. I'd really appreciate it. How is that funny?
Then the scene ends.
Not. Then you don't get any of the good shtick later, where he's just yelling at the waitress and everything. Anyway.
Yeah, so Jim tries to trick him into telling the waitress doesn't know how to butcher a goose properly. The cold open for this episode, Dwight finds a goose on the side of the road dead and brings it into the office to cook for lunch. And Toby has to go HR on him and tell him you can't bring dead geese into the office.
Again, he has to tell him again.
We had a 30-minute conversation about this. So Jim convinces him that the waitress doesn't know how to slaughter a goose. He's yelling out instructions across the table for how to do that. And then he thinks she has narcolepsy. And he has a spirited debate about Nikiri versus some other knife technology that apparently knife nerds know about. But the highlight of that part of the episode is that Andy has been ordering a special drink for everyone during this time, which is what? What is the special drink Andy likes to order?
It's a Nagasaki.
Nagasaki. Why? What is it made out of?
All I remember because remember, this episode is trash to me, but all I remember is there's eggnog involved, which is I've already spoken to. I do not do eggnog, so it's disgusting, but I think it's just eggnog and sake.
Yes. And a lot of places won't make it for you because eggnog is seasonal. So that is pretty funny. And Michael gets drunk on the Nagasaki's and decides that the party or the table is family style and reaches over to these people on the date that's set between Dwight and gets steak off of his plate with his chopsticks. But first he says, "On guard," and then they chopstick fight, and then he steals it. But as everybody knows, chopsticks are Chinese forks. So
that is so offensive. And you're on record as saying that many times.
So. I do not believe that in my personal life. I'm playing a character.
Okay, fair enough.
So it is decided that Andy and Michael are going to take the waitresses back to the office for a date to go to the Christmas party so that they now have guests because they didn't before.
Michael needs a rebound. He's got to bounce back from his breakup.
So something really weird happens at this point in the episode, and the waitresses that are in the restaurant are not the ones they bring back to the office. I've heard many theories about this, but I have also heard because the producers did not think that the waitresses in the original part were attractive enough. I mean, were not attractive enough. They decided to change the actresses.
Well, again, going to Office Ladies, the reason they gave was the waitresses that they were hitting on at the restaurant were older, more age appropriate for them, and obviously a little more put together upstairs, that they're like, wow, I'm not going with these weirdos. And I think the comedy, which more comes in later, the fact that they don't know which is which, because as Michael says, all waitresses look alike.
Yeah.
They maybe think that they're talking to the same waitresses, but these are obviously much younger, more impressionable, more influential, more able to be influenced, rather, because I believe they're in school, as in college. So college-age girls that will like, sure, I'll go to a party, and I don't think they really know what they're getting into.
The worst party ever.
Or to an office party, not like a rager, with a keg and things like that.
Michael gives his bike that he found in his garage that he was going to give to children for charity to the waitress that he brings back. Then they're having a conversation in the same room. He decides that he can't tell them apart. And so he comes up with the idea to put a mark of Sharpie on the one's arm so he knows who it is. And like he said, he thinks all waitresses look alike, which is a long-running stereotype of the ethnicity of these waitresses. But
so
yes,
offensive.
Michael's very offensive. That's part of his character.
And not that it's any excuse, but this was also a lot of this stuff from The Office doesn't hold up well. But yeah, this was from 15 years ago. So it's not that doesn't make it okay. But there's a lot of things in rewatching The Office. I'm like, how did they get away with saying that on network television?
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, so then he's sitting at the end. So then they go through the party. Andy and Michael duet on John Mayer's "Your Body Is a Wonderland."
And I have an interesting tidbit about that, if you'd like to hear it.
Yes.
So, once again, ruining Office Ladies for people.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert if you want to listen to this episode on Office Ladies. They revealed that John Mayer is a friend of, I think they said BJ Novak, if not one of the writers, is friends with John Mayer. And so whoever, whether it was BJ Novak or not, reached out to John Mayer to say, hey, can we use this song in the show? And at first, John Mayer refused and said no. He said, usually when people ask me to use that song, it's because they want to make fun of it. And I get that as an artist, like something that, and obviously it was a big hit for him. So he might take offense to people kind of knocking on, and that's not what they were doing. But they said no, and I think they changed it to another song. But then a couple weeks later, because they were still, I guess, prepping the episode of things during that stage when they reached out, John Mayer changed his mind on one condition. And that one condition was that they send him a Dundee, because he was a really big fan of the show and he wanted a Dundee. So he's like, okay, you can use it, but you have to send me a Dundee. And they did, and I think they personalized it to him. But anyway, he really liked the show, but didn't like the idea of his song being made fun of on the show. So,
but he
was willing to sell out for a Dundee. So, artistic integrity or sell out, you know. I mean, I would have done the same though. I would have, be like, absolutely.
John Mayer's a funny dude as well.
He's an odd guy, but he is rather funny. So anyway, I thought that was a very interesting tidbit.
So they do karaoke. Michael thinks that his waitress is the one. She says she has school and cannot go to Sandals, Jamaica with them because he had previously purchased tickets for Sandals, Jamaica for him and Carol to go to. So
it's all inclusive.
It is all inclusive, and he's having a conversation with Jim, finds out he's had a rebound. He still needs to get rid of his Sandals Jamaica tickets. So what does he do? He calls up Jan Levinson Gould.
But we don't find out about that in this episode. We find out after the winter break.
And that leads to a long-running arc of Michael Scott hilarity through The Office, therefore making this the best episode for Christmas episodes in The Office history.
I don't think so. Just because there would not have been this Christmas episode had the first Christmas episode not have done such a good job at setting the bar and making a manual for how Christmas parties need to go in The Office. And
well, since it is 2020, in the words of Michael Scott, Christmas is canceled.
Did we leave out in that rundown of the Benihana Christmas? This is the one with 2 Christmas parties, right?
Is it?
Because Angela is having a party, and there's a lot of oppression from the party planning committee, and Pam and Karen form the committee to plan parties. Because I think
it is. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Which is a pretty big deal too, because then there's the clashing of the 2 parties in that episode. And Angela steals the cable for the karaoke machine.
Mm-hmm.
And and then like they have that great scene where they're making they make people choose which party, and Stanley stands up, and everybody's just watching and waiting to see which party Stanley's going to go to.
Welcome, Hannah. You will not be disappointed.
Which is something you always want to hear when you enter a party.
Why would I be disappointed? I said you won't be disappointed.
Welcome to my party. You will not be disappointed. Oh, thanks. That's really something.
Kevin has an all-time quote about that. He says, I hear Angela's party will have double fudge brownies, but it will also have Angela. Double fudge. Angela. Double fudge. Angela.
Yes, that is correct. I'd forgotten about that. But yeah, that I will give you. I mean, there's a lot that happens in this Benihana episode.
It is an hour-long episode, so it's worth
I was gonna say it's like 2 episodes in one. So there's a lot of things that do happen in that episode, and it's still trash. It's still trash.
Well, as long as you have to say that you like the episode that has a freaking video iPod in it.
Hey, man.
Your opinion is trash.
What do you think they should go back, like pull a George Lucas and go back and change it, like digitally alter it into something more current?
Yes. And the mouse would move like this, and it would be like, and it would actually say iPhone over top of it.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. I can't believe I just unwrapped an iPhone 12 Max.
SRT, the Dolby Digital.
Or they could change it to an Xbox Series X.
Yes, they could.
But that would have to be, it would actually probably require
the box
less.
Out.
No, you just put the Series X is so big, you just paste it on top, and anytime somebody moves the iPod, it's right there. It doesn't have to be good.
There'd be nothing else left in frame, just the Series X.
It would be. You know how like when I make that Photoshop of Corey jumping on the big screen TV,
Yeah.
it says Ben told me to. That would be all the quality you really need to update it. I think and I can do it. So I'm actually offering my services, NBC.
Volunteer. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
Call him
do it.
up.
I'm gonna need some
Peacock,
but
get on the line.
yeah, but yeah, I'll do it. I'll fix it. I'll fix it right up. Make that a current episode. Matter of fact, I'll go through and I'll fix all the old tech, but I'm going to charge a nominal fee through the entire series. I'll make sure I'll update all the technology into
Here's the
modern day
problem.
technology.
I learned this also on Office Ladies podcast. Only Pam, Jim, and I think Dwight's computer work. The others are just prop computers.
Initially they were, yes, but by the end, I think because I can't remember when, but they all do change over to full working computers, and there's actually quite a few sprinkled throughout the Office Ladies episodes that they've covered so far, where they point out that you can see like Phyllis shopping for a fence for her home. And like legitimately, because they were internet connected, so they would do things. Because the problem was in the bullpen area, if there was a scene out there, they all had to sit there, even if they weren't really in the scene.
Yeah.
And those talking heads and things, so they would just have to sit at their desks for hours and hours, even though they didn't have any lines or anything to do really. So you catch them like actually playing solitaire and actually looking for things on their computers. So, but yeah, nice. I remember. Angela in Office Ladies reveals that at the beginning, I guess the budget being what it was, hers was like a very convincing fake like cardboard computer.
Yeah.
Like it looked like it from afar, but at the desk it was just like cardboard. So anyway, your episode is trash.
We'll never
I win. I win the Office debate.
Well, I think we can all agree that season 8 and 9 are garbage and should be taken out back and disposed of.
I do have to throw in my honorable mention Christmas episode, which is the season 9 Christmas episode. Again, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm agreeing with you that those last 2 seasons should not have happened, but there were small bright moments, and my honorable mention Christmas episode is Dwight Christmas, in which Dwight, everybody votes for the authentic Pennsylvania Dutch Christmas celebration, and Dwight dresses up as Belschnickel and decides whether it was your year impish or admirable. I don't know why, that just cracks me up. So it was a shining moment. However, something that I noticed has been cut out of the reruns or the streaming version now, I believe, is in that episode, and you might not remember, there's actually blackface in that episode.
Oh.
Yes. Because when Dwight comes in as Belschnickel, and they're like, you're making this up. This is not real. Oscar looks it up on his phone, and he's like, no, actually what he's saying is true. And he's reading off blah, blah, blah about this, that, and the other. And he goes, he's often accompanied by, and I forget the character's name, often accompanied by somebody else, kind of like an elf type character, and often portrayed in blackface. And they all kind of look at Dwight, and he's like, of course I'm not. Come on. I'm not going to do that. And then he turns around and he sends a text. And Nate, who he's hired as his like building manager, who eventually becomes like a warehouse worker, Nate is walking through the parking lot dressed up as this additional character in full blackface.
Wow.
But
I did not know that.
It is cut out of, I remember seeing an article that Peacock said it's going to be cut out of their streaming version. I think it might still be on the Netflix version, but we had it on Comedy Central or something the other day, and I was coming on, and I was like, oh, are they gonna cut it out? And it cuts off after Dwight sends the text. It goes to the next scene. It does not show that. So it was cut out of the broadcast version, but I don't know. It might still be on the Netflix version.
Now I have to look. So that's homework for me.
Because it's pretty much, obviously they're making a joke about how offensive blackface is, but by putting someone in very offensive blackface. So
yeah,
not the best. Again, a lot of this stuff, and that was that episode aired in 2012. So still, like that was it should have pinged somebody and be like, wow, we can't do this. This
Yeah,
is
that's
bad.
crazy. I had no idea. I'd forgotten
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So again, a lot of that stuff doesn't age well. It's no excuse. I mean, it was a different time. It doesn't make it right, but obviously that people were not as attuned to some of
Aware,
these
yeah.
things. Yeah. And that one is kind of a shocker because again, the first time I saw it post the initial airing of the episode, I had forgotten about it, and it was very shocking that made it all the way to air. So anyway, now that I've ruined The Office for you, but that the incredibly offensive scene aside, the Dwight Christmas episode is very funny in a very different time for that show. It was one of the few episodes post Michael leaving where I actually was like, okay, I enjoyed that episode. So,
Belschnickel.
do you have an honorable mention of the 7 episodes?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think Moroccan Christmas is probably up there for me.
It's a pretty good one.
That's where Michael pretends to be Jesus by flipping his Santa costume inside out. Oh, no. That's where Meredith catches on fire.
Yeah, that's where Meredith gets really drunk because Michael is making his signature drink a one of everything.
Followed by an orange vodka juice.
Orange vodka juice. Yeah, that one, because that's when Angela has been ousted as head of the party planning committee because Phyllis has dirt on her about Dwight.
Yes. And
she's going with her own theme, and everybody's having a great time except Angela. And yeah, everybody's getting really drunk and having a great, and then it turns into an intervention because Meredith sets her hair on fire.
That's right, and Michael prints off the intervention instructions from the Mormon church.
Yeah. Which again, going against Toby's advice of we can't do this. He's like, well, you're an enabler. So
enabler.
He just forces everybody to take part in his intervention, and then basically drags her into a rehab, kicking and screaming.
Yep, classic.
Oh God,
classic.
Michael.
Well, I think it's going to be Christmas here before we get off the air.
This has been a long one, but there are some listeners who are begging us for longer episodes.
Too bad.
I can think of at least one who always says he wishes it were longer.
Yeah, his name is Marcel Van Gogh. He lives in Paris.
Wow. You're just always revealing people's locations. Come on, man.
Marcel is cool with it. He gave me permission. I asked.
Okay, well, as long as it's consensual, you do what you want.
And also, nobody knows where Paris is anyway. It's in Belgium.
I don't think that's correct. I mean, sure, whatever.
You should look it up.
Okay.
Well, don't forget to check out your Bombas for your last-minute holiday needs. In other words, also signing off for the classic Office sketch. I'm David Pumpkins. Any questions?
And he's gone. I didn't even get to wish him happy holidays, but whatevs. He's out. Anyway, thanks for joining us again. We have really enjoyed bringing you 7 episodes of Group Chat After Dark this year. We will be right back with season 2 in January. If you want any more information, you can find us on RideThatDonkeyProductions.com or GroupChatAfterDark.com or ToddSux.com or you can get to that one 2 ways. It's Todd Sucks or Todd Sux. I own them both. But check out our websites and you can go get some merch with our crap on it. It's going to be really cheaply made, but it has our logo on it, so you should support us that way. And maybe eventually Bombas will hear Michael's wonderful ad reads and actually support the show. But we thank you for supporting the show, and we wish you happy holidays and good fortune in the wars to come. I'll see you next year on Group Chat After Dark. What are you doing here?
Yeah, we did it.